The old man stood alone in the freezing rain outside a grocery store in Chicago, holding a cardboard sign that simply read, "Hungry. Anything helps." Most people walked past him without looking twice. Some pulled their jackets tighter. Others stared at their phones as if they didn't see him at all. But one little girl stopped walking. She tugged on her mother's sleeve and asked a question that would change several lives forever. Before we begin this emotional story, make sure to subscribe to, like this video, and comment below with one act of kindness that changed your life. Your support helps us share more powerful stories that remind people there is still goodness in this world. Emily Parker was only 9 years old, but she noticed things adults often ignored. She noticed the tired cashier at the gas station. She noticed lonely neighbors sitting on porches. And that cold December evening, she noticed the old man standing in the rain. "Mom," Emily whispered, "why is he out here alone?" Her mother, Sarah, glanced toward the man and sighed softly. "Some people fall on hard times, sweetheart." Emily looked confused. "Doesn't he have a home?" "I don't know," Sarah answered honestly. The old man's hands shook from the cold. His gray beard was soaked with rainwater, and his shoes looked worn nearly through. People passed him every second, but nobody stopped. Emily couldn't stop staring. "Can we help him?" she asked quietly. Sarah hesitated. Life had not been easy for them either. Since Emily's father passed away 2 years earlier, every dollar mattered. Sarah worked double shifts at a diner just to keep the apartment and pay the bills. But then she looked at her daughter's eyes. Those eyes carried something rare. Compassion. Sarah smiled softly. "Okay." They walked into the grocery store together. Emily grabbed a basket and carefully picked out food herself. Bread. Soup. Apples. Crackers. A bottle of water. Then she stopped in front of the bakery section and added a warm chicken pie. "He looks cold," she said. After paying, they walked back outside. The rain had become heavier now, and the old man looked ready to leave. Emily approached him slowly. "Sir," she said gently. The man looked up with surprise, almost as if he wasn't used to people speaking kindly to him anymore. "We got this for you." She handed him the grocery bag with both hands. For a moment, the man simply stared at her. His lips trembled. Then tears filled his tired eyes. "You bought this, for me?" he asked. Emily nodded with a small smile. The old man pressed his hand against his chest as if trying to hold himself together. "Thank you," he whispered. "You have no idea what this means." Sarah noticed something heartbreaking then. The man wasn't crying because of the food. He was crying because someone finally saw him. "My name is Walter," he said. "I'm Emily," she answered proudly. Walter looked at her like she had just handed him hope itself. Before leaving, Sarah quietly slipped $20 into Walter's hand. He tried refusing, but she insisted. "Take it," she said. "Stay warm tonight." Walter looked at both of them and smiled through tears. "I used to think people stopped caring," he said softly. "Maybe I was wrong." That night, Emily couldn't stop thinking about him. "Do you think he'll be okay?" she asked before bed. Sarah tucked the blanket around her daughter. "I hope so." But deep down, Sarah wondered the same thing. The next morning, Emily carried something unusual to school. A handwritten note. It said, "Kindness costs nothing, but it can save someone's heart." Her teacher, Mrs. Bennett, asked Emily about it during class. Emily told everyone about Walter. The classroom grew silent. Some students looked emotional. Others looked thoughtful. Then one little boy raised his hand. "My dad says homeless people are dangerous." Emily shook her head softly. Walter wasn't dangerous. He was just sad. Those words stayed in the room long after class ended. That afternoon, Mrs. Bennet called Sarah. "I want you to know," she said warmly, "Emily inspired the entire class today. The school decided to organize a winter kindness drive. Students brought blankets, canned food, gloves, and coats for people in need. And it all started because one little girl chose to stop walking. But Emily still thought about Walter every day." 3 weeks later, while Sarah was finishing her diner shift, someone entered the restaurant carrying a small bouquet of flowers. It was Walter. Except he looked different now. His beard was trimmed. He wore clean clothes. And although he still looked tired, there was life in his eyes again. Sarah stared in shock. "Walter." He smiled nervously. "I hope you don't mind me stopping by." Sarah invited him to sit down. Walter explained that after meeting Emily, something changed inside him. "I spent years believing nobody cared whether I lived or died," he admitted quietly. "After my wife passed away, everything fell apart. I lost my job. Then my apartment. Eventually, I stopped believing I mattered." He paused, fighting emotion. "But your daughter," he said softly. "She looked at me like I was still human." Sarah felt tears forming in her own eyes. Walter continued, "The next morning, I went to a shelter. Then I contacted an old friend who helped me find temporary work." He placed the flowers gently on the table. "I just wanted to thank you both." At that moment, Sarah realized something powerful. Kindness doesn't always change the world overnight. Sometimes, it simply gives someone enough strength to keep going one more day. And sometimes, one more day changes everything. A few months passed, and winter slowly turned into spring. Emily almost forgot how much that rainy evening had changed people around her. But Walter never forgot. Every Saturday morning, he volunteered at the downtown shelter where he had once slept alone and hopeless. He served soup, folded blankets, and listened to stories from people society often ignored. One evening, while organizing donated clothes, Walter met a young man named Marcus. Marcus was sitting silently in the corner, staring at the floor. He looked exhausted, angry, and defeated all at once. Walter sat beside him. "Tough day?" he asked gently. Marcus laughed bitterly. "More like a tough life." Walter nodded slowly. "I understand that feeling." At first, Marcus said nothing. But over time, he opened up. He had lost his construction job after an injury. Bills piled up. His girlfriend left. Eventually, he lost his apartment too. "I'm invisible now," Marcus said quietly. "People look through me like I don't exist." Walter's chest tightened because those words sounded painfully familiar. Then he remembered Emily. "No," Walter said firmly. "You matter more than you know." Marcus looked unconvinced. So Walter told him everything. The rain. The grocery bag. The little girl who stopped walking. By the end of the story, Marcus's eyes were wet. "A kid did all that?" he asked. Walter smiled. "One kind person can change somebody's direction." The next week, Walter helped Marcus apply for work at a warehouse hiring temporary employees. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a start. Marcus got the job. For the first time in months, he smiled. Meanwhile, Emily's kindness project at school continued growing. Students started writing encouraging notes and leaving them around town inside libraries, coffee shops, and bus stations. Messages like, "You matter. Keep going. You are not alone." People began posting photos of the notes online. Soon, local news stations noticed the story. One reporter visited Emily's school for an interview. "Why do you think kindness matters so much?" the reporter asked. Emily thought carefully before answering. "Because everybody is fighting something we can't see." The clip spread across social media faster than anyone expected. Thousands of people shared it. Parents showed it to their children. Teachers showed it in classrooms. Even strangers began posting their own stories of kindness online using Emily's words. But the biggest surprise came 2 weeks later. Sarah received a phone call from a woman named Rebecca Lawson. Rebecca explained that she worked for a nonprofit organization helping homeless families rebuild their lives. "We saw Emily's interview," Rebecca said warmly. "And honestly, it moved our entire team." She invited Emily and Sarah to visit their community center in downtown Chicago. When they arrived, Emily couldn't believe what she saw. Volunteers packing meals. Families receiving clothes. Children laughing in playrooms. And standing near the entrance was Walter. He waved proudly. Rebecca smiled at Emily. "Walter talks about you constantly." Emily laughed shyly. Then Rebecca asked a question nobody expected. "How would you feel about helping us start a kindness campaign for kids across the city?" Emily's eyes widened. "Really?" Rebecca nodded. They called it the kindness chain. The idea was simple: every person who received kindness would pass it forward to someone else. Within months, schools across the city joined the campaign. Students collected food for shelters. Teenagers visited nursing homes. Families volunteered together on weekends. And it all traced back to one small act outside a grocery store. One rainy evening. One little girl. One moment of compassion. By the following Christmas, the kindness chain had spread far beyond Chicago. Videos online showed children helping elderly neighbors, strangers paying for meals, and communities supporting struggling families. People everywhere repeated the same message. Kindness spreads. But Emily still remained the same humble little girl she had always been. One snowy afternoon, Sarah asked her something while they decorated their tiny apartment for Christmas. "Do you realize how many people you've inspired?" Emily shrugged innocently. "I just wanted to help Walter." Sarah smiled with tears in her eyes. "That's how change starts," she whispered. A few days before Christmas, the nonprofit organized a holiday dinner for struggling families and homeless guests. The hall was filled with laughter, music, and warm food. Volunteers rushed around carrying trays while children played games near the Christmas tree. Walter stood near the stage wearing a clean suit jacket. He looked healthier now than anyone had seen him in years. When the director invited him to speak, the room became quiet. Walter looked nervous at first. Then his eyes found Emily sitting beside her mother. "I spent a long time believing my life was over," he began softly. "I believed people stopped caring." The room listened carefully. "Then one little girl handed me a bag of groceries and treated me like I still mattered." Several people wiped tears from their eyes. Walter continued, "That moment saved me. Not because of the food. Because kindness reminded me I was human." He paused as emotion filled his voice. "And if kindness could save someone like me, imagine what it can do for others." The audience stood in applause. Emily looked overwhelmed as people smiled at her from every direction. But then something even more emotional happened. Marcus walked onto the stage. This time, he looked completely different too. Strong. Confident. Hopeful. "I want to say something," he said. He explained how Walter helped him rebuild his life after losing everything. "I was angry at the world," Marcus admitted. "But kindness gave me another chance." Then he looked directly at Emily. "You started all of this." Emily's eyes filled with tears. That night, as snow quietly covered the city outside, something beautiful filled the room. Hope. Not the loud kind people post online for attention. The quiet kind. The real kind. The kind created when human beings choose compassion over indifference. As the evening ended, families hugged each other tightly. Volunteers packed leftovers for people to take home. Children laughed beside glowing Christmas lights. And Sarah watched her daughter realizing something important. Kindness is never small. You may think a smile means nothing. A meal means nothing. A kind word means nothing. But to someone fighting loneliness, pain, or hopelessness, that small act can become the reason they keep going. And maybe that's how the world changes. Not through power or money, but through ordinary people choosing kindness when they don't have to. So today, wherever you are watching this from, remember this. You never truly know what someone else is carrying. Your kindness might be the light they desperately need. And sometimes, one small moment of compassion can create a chain that changes countless lives forever.